So, season's almost wrapped up, so let's talk some playoffs here. I'm going to go through each team in the Atlantic, the Metropolitan, the Pacific, the Central, wild card for both conferences, and let's just kind of talk about each team in a relatively quick fashion. I have to say the wild card race has been insane, especially in the Eastern Conference. It's all wrapped up in the West, but in the Eastern Conference, you still got teams, a few teams available. So, let me go into the Eastern Conference wildcard. We'll talk about that first. Now, the first slot, Tampa Bay Lightning, they wrapped that stuff up. And it's impressive what they've done. Kucherov has been amazing. He has been absolutely fantastic. And considering Vasilevsky was out for quite a bit of time and they kind of had to deal with mediocre goaltending, for them to turn around the season in which they have done, and they look downright scary right now. You know, Steven Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, so much talent up front, solid decor. You know, with Victor Hedman, I know with the Sergachev thing, I don't think he'll be back unless it's like round 3. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's earlier. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, what they have been able to persevere, it's been impressive what they have done. And just kind of goes to show that you can't always count a team out. And it's whoever faced them in the wild card, have fun with that. Whether it's Florida or Boston, that's going to be a very difficult matchup. And I will say this. Looking at the standings, I would not be surprised if you see 1 to even 3 wildcard teams win their series in the first round. Some of these wildcard teams are just very, very good. They're just playing in a very deep division, and it kind of, it pans out how it pans out. Now, the second wildcard spot is where things gets interesting. Excuse me. I can't even speak. You got the Washington Capitals still in the race, Detroit Red Wings, Philadelphia Flyers, and Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the Capitals and the Flyers, no one expected them to be there. The Capitals have, Ovechkin heated up second half of the season. They have a negative 40 goal differential, so let's not kid ourselves. It's not like this is an elite team by any stretch of the imagination, but they have clawed and scratched their way into this conversation. They could possibly get to the playoffs with a negative goal differential, which is kind of crazy. And their goaltender, Charlie Lindgren, has been very good for them. He has kept them in a lot of games that they should have not been in. But yeah, it is really impressive what the Washington Capitals have done. And I would say the same thing with the Philadelphia Flyers. When Hart went out with that whole situation that I can't talk about because it will most likely get demonetized, you bring in a rookie Harrison. You don't have a proven veteran starter, and look where they're at. Look where they're at. It's crazy to see the Philadelphia Flyers with losing their starter still in this situation. It's crazy, and I think it just goes to show Tortorella, while some people do hate him, he's a phenomenal hockey coach. He can get the best out of a lot of players. Now, he might not be for everybody. He might rub you the wrong way. But you can't deny the results. It's impressive what he has done. As for the Detroit Red Wings, in my opinion, a little bit of a disappointment. I thought they were going to have a chance to be just a little bit better. They have so much talent on paper. But, they're still in the conversation. They could still make the playoffs, and who knows? We've seen it last season with Florida Panthers. Just barely get in, and then they go on a hot streak. The Flyers had that capability, and Alex Lyon. Listen, I know Lyon got pulled after the first two games against Boston. It would be amazing to see him go on a redemption tour and just tear it up and win himself a cup. Am I saying that's happened? Most likely not, but I think Detroit, they have the pieces up front, especially with Larkin, DeBrincat, and Raymond. They have good offensive pieces. Mort Seider, Wallman, you got good players all over this roster. It wouldn't be crazy to say that they shock some people. I think they've underperformed a little bit this season. I think you could get a bit more out of this team. Mind you, they're playing in an Atlantic division that's just extremely stacked. So it is what it is. And as for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they brought in Erik Karlsson from the San Jose with that $10 million cap hit. This is what you want to see. They traded Jay Getzel to the Carolina Hurricanes because they didn't expect to be in this situation. So it would be funny in a way if they did make the playoffs and they somehow faced the Carolina Hurricanes. That would definitely be interesting to see. Now, going into the Atlantic, the Boston Bruins, they have vastly overperformed all of my expectations. I'm a Bruins fan. You can see the cap. Going into it, look back at the footage. I said wild card team at best. They lost their top 2 centers. They had a lot of pieces be lost in the offseason, right? Tyler Bertuzzi not coming back to the Bruins after they traded for him at the deadline. Or, towards the deadline. Like, there wasn't a lot to be like, oh, wow, we got this big piece. They just, found a way. Charlie Coyle stepped up his game. Pavel Zacha stepped up his game. They have had to rely on a Pasternak to carry them offensively for some long stretches. And defensively, you've had guys step in and do well. Lindholm's had a bit of a rough year, but he's starting to do better now. Charlie McAvoy, he's had a very good year. Brandon Carlo, while he's not fleet of foot, he's solid defensively. And while it would be nice for a guy like Mason Lohrei, you just wish he had a few more years experience because I think the talent is there. I think he'll be a top 4 D-man eventually. It's very hard to lean on a rookie for that much, but Ullmark and Swayman have been good. So the Bruins have some good positives going for them. I have question marks up front. I think they're missing a piece or two still, but it's been incredible what they have done. And then you go into the Florida Panthers, who proved last year's long run to the Eastern Conference Finals, eventually the Stanley Cup Finals, was not a fluke. Beating the Bruins was not a fluke. The Florida Panthers always had the talent on paper. It was just them getting their heads out of their butts and playing a good style of hockey. Sam Reinhart's had a phenomenal year. For Hagee, I still wake up from screaming in my nightmares after Game 7 goal against Swayman. Tkachuk, he is an antagonizer. He's a very skilled hockey player. They have a lot of talent. Now, it might rustle some jimmies of fans, and they do cross the line from time to time, but the Florida Panthers are a difficult team to play against. And Bobrovsky, coming into the season, that was one of my bigger question marks. He can disappear. If you look at his career, he'll have a good season, bad season, good season, bad season. And last year, maybe he was just due. Last year in the regular season, he wasn't great, but then getting to the playoffs, it was like playoff mode. Brady mode, just boop. Lights turned on, and this year he's played really well. He's played extremely confident. So that's why the Florida Panthers have been so dang good. And Stalock, is it Stalock or Stolars? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But they've had some really good backup goaltending. I apologize. I mix those two up for whatever reason. It's like, maybe because I'm probably not that bright, but it is what it is. We all have our weaknesses in life, and mine is remembering particular names or confusing particular names. And just going to double check. It's Stolars. Yeah, it's Stolars. Yeah, it's been impressive. Stolars has been fantastic with 26 games, 2.03 goals against average, 926 save percentage. Considering they pretty much got him for nothing, if I remember correctly. It's downright impressive. And Bobrovsky's played well. Now we're going into the Toronto Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews, putting up video game numbers. Mitchell Marner, William Nylander. John Tavares slowed down a little bit, but still a productive player. Morgan Riley put on some good points on the back end. And Samsonov, a guy that was terrible. He got waived. Nobody claimed him. He was horrific. They waived him. Got a mental reset, has come back, and has been fantastic. Him and Joseph Wall, who I think Joseph Wall, I am a fan of him. I watched him a lot in Boston College. I think eventually, I think he is their future. But Samsonov, he's just been so dang good, especially over this past month. He's been fantastic. He's been their starter. And, yeah, he's played some really, really good hockey. Now, when you look at the Metropolitan Division, got the New York Rangers. Igor Shesterkin. Not amazing, like, Vezina-type year numbers for Shesterkin, but he's still Igor Shesterkin. Still a great goaltender. You have Panarin, who's been a monster. He's turned himself into a bona fide sniper. Zibanejad, Kreider, and a guy that I've been singing the praises of for a couple years and saying, like, you just need time. He just needs time. Alexis Lafreniere. You can go in my back catalog. I'm not just a bandwagoner. I've been saying this for years. Prospects develop at different paces. They just do. And it's awesome to see a guy like that succeed with people. Oh, he's a bust. He's a bust. Like, you don't really know until a few years out. Sometimes it takes a guy 3 to 5 years to kind of figure out the game at the NHL level. Not everybody's a Connor Bedard. Not everyone's a Connor McDavid. Not everyone's a Sidney Crosby that they immediately, click. Sometimes it takes a guy a few years to kind of develop some confidence and find his role. Like, what does he do well at the NHL level? Now, I'm hoping in the future they give him more power play time, but with all the weapons, I can understand maybe why they don't. But Alexis Lafreniere, yeah, he's been great. Defensively, Adam Fox, Keanu Miller, who I am a big fan of his game, Jacob Trouba. They just a very well-rounded team. That's why they're one of the best ones in all of the NHL. Now you go into the Carolina Hurricanes. They were my preseason pick to win the Stanley Cup championship. And with the addition of Jake Getzel at the trade deadline, which is funny because the Pittsburgh Penguins were selling and they somehow might still make the playoffs, they have what we've all questioned for years. Like, do they have enough offense? I'm like, yeah, now they do. They do. Because Fetch, Aho, Getzel, yeah, those are guys that are going to provide you offense. I do think they have enough scoring now. And with the way they play, with how Rob Brindamore has this team play defense, it's just good luck trying to hit sustained pressure. Just, they are a damn good team. Slavin, Chatfield's one of the best Mangs in the NHL. I'll say that. Orloff, Burns, they have such good defense. They're one of the best decors in the NHL. The goaltending, Freddie Anderson, he's back from his blood clot situation. But Kochetkov, I have to say this, Kochetkov has impressed me. He came in, he's a third on the depth chart. Ronta it wasn't a good year for him. He's most likely done there in Carolina. But Kochetkov showed that the Hurricanes investing into him for the future made sense. He was fantastic. He helped them get stabilized when Anderson had to deal with his health issues. He was invaluable to this team. And why I think he should be considered Rookie of the Year. I know Bedard's had a fantastic year, and he'll most likely win it. But honestly, with what Kochetkov has done, it's impressive. He has helped stabilize a playoff team and kept them towards the top of their division with a chance to finish first in the Metro. That's crazy. So, Carolina Hurricanes, I am going to just stick with the pick. I think they should win the Stanley Cup this year. And then the New York Islanders. Sorokin, kind of like Shesterkin, not his usual numbers, but still good. Still a good goaltender. He's played very well recently, especially. And, 7-2-1 their last 10. You have Bo Horvat over there. You have Barzell. Looking at the Islanders, they have a very good decor, a good goaltender who's great when he's hot, and an okay offense. It's very average at best, and they do have some talent up front, but do they have enough depth-wise? But Patrick Waugh has helped bring them back into a playoff spot. Is Patrick Waugh... They have the talent on the back end. I think they have the talent in goal. I just question if they have enough scoring. That's the biggest question mark for the Islanders. Now, if some of their goal scorers, some of their forwards, I should say, gets hot, they have the other pieces there to be a tough team to beat. But I do think that will eventually be their Achilles heel. Now, going into the Western Conference, Dallas Stars. So much depth scoring. This is going to be a team that's difficult to play against because lines 1 through 3. How many 50, 60 point scores they have? It's crazy. They have so much depth on this team. And that's going to make line matchups extremely difficult. Ottinger's hasn't had a crazy year statistically, but I think him in a vacuum, you put him in the right situation, he gets hot. He can be one of the better goalies in the NHL. 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Dallas Stars are going to be a tough out. Then you get the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck, one of the best goalies in all of the world. Very good offense in Winnipeg. And it's funny because Winnipeg, just such a... Because they're on the smaller market, we kind of forget about them. But, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Morrissey. They have a lot of good talent on this team. And... It's weird saying this, and I'll talk about the Colorado Avalanche. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Avalanche. Just because I believe in their goaltending just a little bit more. So let's go into the Avalanche. 49, 25, and 7, 105 points. You got Nathan McKinnon, Radden, Cale Makar. So much talent, just all spread out throughout the roster. But I do question, is Georgiev going to be good enough? Is the goaltending going to be good enough for the Avalanche to take them the distance? That's the only question mark. Now, Georgiev can get hot. Wouldn't be completely surprised. But it's hard to win the playoffs if your goalie's not good enough. Very, very hard to do so. I think Georgiev can be a solid starter, but is he a starter that can win you a playoff series? That's yet to be determined. That's, to be determined, I should say. Now in the Pacific, the Vancouver Canucks have flipped that script from last season. This season been so dang good. Thatcher Demko, love to see it. Love to see my boy Thatcher Demko kill it. I don't know if you noticed, I'm a Boston College Eagles fan, so a little biased. Fully admit. Nice to see Demko do it. DeSmith has been good. Overall, Vancouver Canucks have good goaltending depth in their organization. It just seems like, their goalies play well. And then, got Hughes. Brock Besser's been fantastic this year. It's crazy to see how good the Vancouver Canucks have been this year. Considering last year, it's it's like a world of difference. I mean, JT Miller, 102 points. Quinn Hughes, 91. Pettersson, 88. Brock Besser, 40 goals, 73 points. And then you see a dip after that. The next highest point scorer after their top four is 48. But impressive. Just downright impressive what the Vancouver Canucks have been able to do. And Thatcher Demko, I think he's him. I think he's him. I think he can be that guy. I do. I'm biased, I'll fully admit, but I believe in Thatcher Demko. Now going to the Edmonton Oilers. Crazy, crazy, crazy what they have done after their horrific start to the season. Second in the Pacific. Now, if I was to say that after their really rough stretch there, I'd be like, wow, whatever you're smoking, I want it because it's that strong stuff. That strong stuff. But the Edmonton Oilers have been impressive. I mean, Zach Hyman, mind you, you're playing with Connor McDavid, one of the best, if not the best player in the NHL. It's just, I love seeing a guy like Zach Hyman just succeed. And when you look at the Edmonton Oilers in the transition after they made that head coaching change, right? It has been downright impressive to see how much more responsible they play in their own end. Now, there's still those games where I would say you see a lack of a dedication to playing defensively. But, I mean, McDavid, 130 points. Leon Draisaitl, 104. Evan Bouchard, the young defenseman coming into his own, 79 points. Zach Hyman, 75 with 53 goals. Zach Hyman is a 53 goal scorer. That is crazy. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 66 points. Adam Henrique, who they got at the trade deadline. I mean, I've liked some of the additions. I mean, Corey Perry they brought in. I like what they have done here with the Oilers. They had a little bit of jam and some depth scoring. And while I don't think their defense is perfect, it is improved. And Evan Bouchard has been dynamite offensively for them on the back end. And Stuart Skinner has kind of found his game. Stuart Skinner has played pretty well. And he can be a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, but Stuart Skinner, I think he's played overall pretty solid. And then Calvin Pickard. I mean, a career journeyman guy, mainly in the AHL. He's been very good in his backup role. So, the Edmonton Oilers, I have to say, and I'm going to repeat myself, it's just so impressive what they have done to turn around their season from a very anemic start. Now, the LA Kings, they have been one of these teams that is just difficult to play against. It's just have fun trying to score against them. They're very defensive. While they might not have the firepower of some of these other teams, like Kempe is their highest scorer with 73 points. Fiala with 72. Kopitar with 70. And they have some good depth. I mean, Moore, Byfield, and Dowie with 50-plus points. They have some, solid depth scoring. But, let's not confuse ourselves here. The Los Angeles Kings win because they play a very defensive style. And, Cam Talbot, resurgence year. Rittich, resurgence year for him. Both of them have been great. Talbot has been their starter with a .916 save percentage, 2.46 goals against average. Rittich with a .921 save percentage, 2.15 goals against average. They benefit playing behind such a defensive team, but yeah, I mean, it's impressive what the Kings have done to find themselves back in this situation. Now let's talk about the wild card. It's already too locked in. That's why I didn't go into the wild card race in the West, because there is none. Nashville Predators, Soros, while started off a little cold, to be fair to him, just a little bit cold to start the season. He's been absolutely tremendous as the season has progressed. Their leading point scorer is Philip Forsberg with 93 points, 47 goals. So if he scores a hat trick in the last game, maybe he gets in the 50-goal marker. Yossi with 85 points. Nyquist with 74. He's had a really good year. And Ryan O'Reilly with 68. He's had a very solid year. We can't get it twisted. They're not going to win by scoring or outscoring their opponent. They're going to shut down their other team. They brought in Luke Shen. Roman Yossi, already kind of mentioned him. He's extremely good in his own end. I think when it comes down to it with the Predators, if Soros gets hot, good luck to the other team. If Soros gets hot, good luck to the other team, because the way in which the Predators play, they might not score a ton, but if they just need a couple goals and Soros gets locked in, it's going to be a tough team to play against. And then we're going to go to the final team in this playoff picture, the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights, huh? That's not a wild card team, you say. They just won the Cup last year. But with some injuries and things kind of going on, they found themselves in this position where they weren't winning their usual amount of games. I mean, just Jack Eichel only had 66 points on the season. Like, wow, that's a terrible season. He only played 61 games. Carlson, 68 games with 59 points. Mark Stone, 53 points, 59 games played. Like, a lot of their best players miss significant time. Then they trade for a guy like Noah Hannafin. They're starting to load up. They brought in Anthony Mantha, big body, right? He has 44 points in 74 games played. They're such a good team. Very good decor. Got even better with Noah Hannafin. Offensively, if they're all healthy, they're one of the better offenses all of the NHL. And then the goaltending. I mean, Aiden Hill, he's kind of deal with the injury bug a bit this year. 910 save percentage, 2.70 goals against average. Logan Thompson, 907 save percentage, 2.74 goals against average. I think these goalies can be interchangeable in a way, but Aiden Hill has shown you in the past that he can get hot in the playoffs and he can take your team the distance. Absolutely. He can absolutely take your team the distance. He can be that guy. For me, when I look at it, it's just kind of going back to what I said at the beginning of the video. I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas won. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay Lightning won. I wouldn't be surprised if the Predators could win. You have some good, talented teams in these wild card spots. It's not going to be a cupcake run for either any team in the first round. Yeah, you might have had a great season. Yeah, you might win the President's Trophy. Right? That's all well and good. But just because that happens does not mean you have an easy run to the playoffs. Now, the second wild card spot in the East, a little bit easier road ahead for the person that gets the first seed over there in the conference. But outside of that, we got some tough matchups to see. And I mean, heck, we saw it last year with the Florida Panthers. Nobody expected them to do what they did. So we could see a repeating of history. But, yeah, really impressive to see all these teams. I'm going to stick with my pick. I believe in the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're going to win it all this year. They just have so much talent up front, on the back end, and their goaltending. I mean, if Anderson, knock on wood, if he does go down, I think Kochetkov will be good enough to bring them there. But I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think of this playoff picture? Who do you think is going to get that final wild card spot in the Eastern Conference? And if you had a team to pick, if you had a team to win it all, if that's the team you had to pick to win it all this season, who would it be? I'm Captain Paul. I got to get back to the tugboats. I'll see you in the next one.